Hey, welcome to The Sinner and the Saint. I'm Melissa Bell.
And I'm Allison Kane.
So I had the funniest thing happen at the jiu-jitsu gym recently.
Say that 5 times fast.
The jiu-jitsu gym recently. The professor...
There's a professor at the jiu-jitsu gym?
Yeah, I mean, I call him coach.
I can't even say it. What?
I call him coach, but he's a professor.
Oh.
Professor Spengler.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so there's this class of 5 and 6-year-olds, and there are a lot of 5 and 6-year-olds. There's like 20 to 25 of them, okay?
Wow.
With 3 or 4 coaches. But it's just a little bit crazy because there's 5 and 6-year-olds, and they're super fun. But Professor Sean has them always like honed in on him, okay? Anyway, I'm out in the lobby with the parents, and we're kind of chuckling, and all of a sudden, I hear, "Go ask Miss Melissa for a cup." So this little kid comes running out. He's like, "I need a cup." And I'm kind of trying to look into the gym, and I'm looking at him like, "What?" Well, there's this big spider on the mat, okay? And so that's why all the kids were going crazy. So I send a cup in with one of the little kids, brave kid, goes and gives it to Professor Sean. And I looked at the parents and I go, "How much do you want to bet that cup is coming back to me?" And he's going to say, "Toss this outside," with the live spider. Sure enough, 30 seconds later, he's like, "Hey, toss this outside." And I was like, "Told you." So funny, right? Because he said, "I never want to, if I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, I don't want someone to kill me." Fair statement. Now, 2 days later, we're doing an open mat, and one of the kids is on the side of the wall crying because he got hurt a little bit. He goes, "Suck it up. Kids need to get hurt every now and then." And I'm like, "Wait, we just saved a spider." But
this feels counterintuitive.
And it had me thinking, I believe that's true. I think kids need to get hurt a little bit so you know what it feels like. But where's the line of that toxicity, suck it up, and, making everyone kind of... Is pandering the right word? Are you pander somebody?
First of all, that's an interesting story.
It was very funny because he's just like, "Kids need to get hurt every now and then." And I was like...
Yes, and I think, like everything, there is a balance in that. And that, that's what I want to talk about. I thought we could talk about today is, in our Letting Go series, we need to let go of all that suck it up, be strong, there are times when we need to be strong and that sort of thing in the Lord and all of that, but there is also that letting go of that and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with people.
Oh, but you got to be careful.
And feeling all the feels.
Oh.
People are terrified of sitting down, sitting silently with the Lord, listening for the truth from Him sometimes.
Right. That's what Netflix is for.
And,
right. And social media.
Right. And looking, that fear of facing your past hurts and embracing the feelings that you have to revisit in order to move on and heal from them.
Do we have to embrace them, or can we just kind of pick them up with our,
in a cup.
In a cup and look at them and then chuck them out on the sidewalk?
I think it is going back and revisiting them. And acknowledging them and understanding them. It's like a little dissection.
Oh, I skipped that part in biology.
Yeah, because it can be gross and hard and smelly and not fun, right?
So gross. I don't know. I just stood by.
The value of it is so deep, though.
What? I stood by. I didn't do it. I just watched from a distance. Shocker, we're still doing that today. Sorry.
Girl. No, you're not.
No, I'm
you're
not.
Jumping on in there.
I didn't mean to distract you, though. The value of it today.
Oh, my gosh. It takes so much courage. I think we get it confused.
Oh.
Because it takes more courage and more strength to face those things. Yeah. To acknowledge those things, to revisit those things, and as you mentioned, which I use all the time now, go back to those doors in our life that once we came to know Jesus, we just slapped a Jesus sticker on the door, but never walked back into the room with Him to acknowledge, process, and heal from it. it takes more courage and strength to do that than it does just to suck it up and keep moving forward. And so I think we need to let go of the world's view of strength and sucking it up. And we need to be truly strong and truly courageous.
Yes.
I can't talk today.
It's okay.
And suck it up and go back and open the dang doors.
Okay, girl. You can tell someone's in a healing process. It's very, very passionate right now. And yes, but no, I totally agree with you. I think it's hard. And I think the truth is, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, at the bottom of that really ugly pit of whatever, we sometimes find ourselves. And sometimes it's because we allowed that to happen, or we chose something bad. And so we might say, maybe we have 10% ownership of something that happened. Well, we're going to not go back there because we know there's 10% of our own ownership in there to deal with the other 90% of the crap.
Right.
Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to go back. And, we are all about, you can't change the past, so move forward. You can learn from it, friends. Trust me.
We cannot change it, but we can learn from it. And it really is helpful in understanding how we approach, in understanding yourself and how we approach all the different relationships that we have in life. I was recently having a conversation with someone about the importance of this very thing. And it was so interesting. They said, well, Allison, I don't want to do that. That sounds awful. I do not want to go back and think about all those things.
Yes.
And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
It is not fun. It's grueling. It takes way more courage and strength to actually go back. And it takes time.
And sometimes it's not even that you had any fault in it. But the truth is, you can see the crack. Okay, you can see how that happened. Maybe you were a little bit weaker at that time. Maybe you need to go back and see that you were weaker, and now you're stronger in Christ, thank goodness. So you can go back and deal with it now.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even anything that had to do with you personally, but something within your family or whatever, family dynamic, or just, somebody's personality in your family and their response from their not healing from past hurts. They responded a certain way to you. So you began, this is our generational issues that the Bible talks about. So you began to believe a certain way or a certain lie, and you are continuing it on in your own relationships in life. When if we will take time to face all the feelings and find that deep courage and strength from the Lord, to face those things and just revisit them and try to learn from them and understand them, we have the opportunity to break that generational curse.
Yes. Okay, so tell me, what if I'm on board, but I don't know where to start?
Oh, that's a great question.
Oh gosh, I hope you wrote the answers down.
I did not. There's great books.
Yes.
That would be a good journey. Lectio Divina is a great one in developing that time and hearing from the Lord. Counseling is key, I think, because that's someone who's holding you accountable.
Yes.
And along, in the journey and kind of keeping you on course and asking the correct questions. That could be someone through your church. That could be a pastor. That could be a paid counselor, family counselor, that sort of thing. And then as you begin to realize those things about yourself, most definitely 100% you're going to begin to realize how it affects your marriage, the relationship with your spouse, and not from any actions that they have necessarily, but how it affects your parenting.
Yes.
And your friendships, how you see the world even. We wear this lens. We have these, My husband was so creative the other day. He said it's like we're looking through a kaleidoscope. And as we start to kind of dissect each of those little prism angle things, he said it much more eloquently, then things become a lot more focused and clearer instead of so jumbled.
So I didn't really know where we were going today, but I love this because there are things that could have happened that we are completely unaware of.
Facts.
Right? But all of a sudden, what are you seeing? You're seeing this behavior that keeps popping up in your life time and time again. You're seeing this choice that you're making time and time again. And maybe it's not a good choice. Maybe it's not, it's not adding to your life. It's not completely taken away. But why do I always do that? Right? Well, then when you start to dig into that, just like that book I was reading, The Body Keeps the Score, you can go back. I mean, for me, I went back and I saw the beginning and then got to see the patterns and why they popped up and why I kept them going and why I still have to fight them today. And the truth is, while you're thinking that thing's going to go back and make you a prisoner again, it's actually going to free you because you're going to understand.
Yes, there is so much freedom in this. Yes, it is terrifying, but it is true strength, not the strength of the world. It's not muscle strength. It is pure will, blood, guts, and glory. I mean, it takes everything you've got. But, we always say, like, look to Jesus and his example. And Jesus felt all the feels.
Yeah.
He did. Like, all through Scripture, he had all the different emotions. He was sad, he cried, he felt hope, he was anxious. I mean, so anxious that, like, before he went to the cross, like, he's sweating blood. Okay, anybody else done that? I've never been that anxious, and I hope I never am.
Right.
He felt love. He felt tired. He was joyful. He experienced pain. He experienced peace. He was tempted to sin, and he also had a great time. And he could be a little sassy.
I know.
Like he was fun. And Jesus's emotions can truly be like a mirror to help us understand and even express our own feelings about certain situations.
And be okay that you're having that feeling because that feeling was made by God himself. And so don't shame yourself for feeling one of those feelings, right?
Right. And it won't always make sense to us at first why we feel a certain way. And that's why we need those other people in our lives to help us, like counselors and time with the Lord and that communication with him to help guide us, to help figure it out, to dig deep.
I just was brought back to a conversation I was having with my youngest, and he was having a bad day, and he was being a little quippy with me. And he said, well, you and Dad have bad days, and then you have attitudes. I'm not allowed to have a bad day. And every bit of me wanted to go back there and go, no, you're not allowed to have a bad day because it makes me uncomfortable when you're not happy.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
When I get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And then the question take it deeper. Like, why am I uncomfortable when my child's not happy?
Right.
Where does that insecurity come? Like my need and my desire. These are great questions.
Right.
They're the hard ones.
But it started from a little conversation with my son who had a little bit of an attitude. Well,
I think the challenging thing here too, as we begin to process this stuff, this comes with a warning, it gets harder before it gets easier. So I'm sure you're so excited about taking this journey, but it is so worth it in the end, along the way. And as your relation, you begin to sort of realize these things about yourself, there are going to be conversations that you need to have with those around you that are important to you. And I think we should just share a few tips because on how to approach some of those conversations, because they're so stocked full of emotion for us that it can easily come across like other people can quickly put up their defenses and take it personally.
Right.
Or, I a recent conversation I had with someone, and I said, I realized that I have thought this about our relationship. And they were like shocked. And I was like, And a little like, wait, what? And I was like, but let me finish, because it actually has zero to do with anything you have done, but everything to do with what I took on as truth as a young girl. And so I was like, I just want to apologize for that, because I basically have just been plastering my poster
Oh my gosh, what a
on
good
you.
visual. Yeah.
Like I just took my stuff, all my things, and plastered it all over you when you weren't acting that way in any shape or form. And so that's sort of an example without getting into too many specifics, but it's really important. We always use I statements.
Use I statements.
I statements like I feel I have figured out.
Right.
I have been doing a lot of thinking. That I respond in this way because I feel, instead of
you.
Yes. And it really takes down the defense mechanism of people, and it really is about us. I mean, we've taught this really, how we respond to people. I mean, I tell my kids this all the time. They're like, gosh, they were just so mean. I'm like, has nothing to do with whatever you did. Right. It has everything to do with what they're going through right now.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. So I have lots of conversations with my husband, and our communication has gotten better over the years, thankfully. We used to literally have to communicate hard stuff in a journal because we could not have a healthy conversation. Right.
But you were communicating, and that's a great first step if you're having trouble saying it out loud.
Right. Because I knew, like, this conversation is not going to go because I'm going to get emotional, and then I'm going to lash out, and then I'm going to hurt your feelings because that's how I make you go away. Like, I knew my process, right? Anyway, so now I say, hey, I just want you to be aware of something I'm dealing with. There's nothing you can do about it, but just so you know, if I seem XYZ, that's why.
Absolutely.
But
you're setting those expectations and being vulnerable and honest.
And when you just said, oftentimes the conversation has nothing to do with what's in front of you. And if we just start with the I statements, it really does break down the boundaries. We take this out of our homes and go into our community. We go into, society. And as Jesus followers, we're called to hang out with people that are not like us.
That's right.
How do we start those conversations, especially in this day and age, and how messed up everything has become over the past, 5 years or so?
I know. You're almost afraid to talk or say anything or respond.
Which then automatically makes the other person feel judged because you didn't say a word. It could just go on and on forever. So
it just shouldn't be that complicated.
Yeah.
I think, tone and demeanor are super important. I had to wait for a time when I was just like really calm and really understood what was going on in my heart and mind. And I had a grasp on it so I could fully, even though it's still sometimes really difficult to put into words what we're feeling or have, what we're dealing with. It's important to at least have something, right? And that eye contact, showing in both directions, showing if someone sits down to share something with you, give them your full attention because they're being vulnerable and being strong enough and courageous enough to share their feelings of healing and forward movement that they're trying to make, and they want to feel like there's a safe space, and that catapults that your relationship to a deeper point. And then just give the person an opportunity to not respond. Sometimes I just need to say this, but I don't want you to respond right now because I know this is a lot. So I just want to say this, and then let's have dinner.
Yeah.
And let's pick this back up when you've had some time to think about it. Because I've been thinking about this a lot, but I'm just dropping it in your lap.
Right.
And you want to keep it healthy. And so, give each person some time.
Yeah.
To really get their thoughts together before it turns into a big hot mess.
Yeah, I like to say to my husband, is now a good time to talk about something? Because sometimes he's had a bad day, and I don't know he's had a bad day, so I'm going to drop this in his lap, and that's just going to, overflow. Or understand how the person in front of you works. So my son, babe, it's coming your way, but my son would like a gizmo watch, okay? And I said, well, we need to go to the store, and we need to get all the facts because your dad likes facts, okay? So no feelings. No, I really, really want this. Here's the facts, and this is why. And so knowing who you're communicating with and their best form of communication also helps. And I also like, especially if I'm going to like drop a big bomb, shall I say that word? I like to ask God to make sure I've processed it enough.
Yes.
Because if I drop it prematurely, it's just not solidified. Like, I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot of good, right? It leaves room for, I don't know, miscommunication.
For the world to seep in.
Right.
For the other kind of strength, the puffed up, the selfish, the world, the, the control that we have, the selfishness that we have, the insecurities that we have to seep in to that situation. So that's such a great point.
Right. Pausing and saying, wait, why is this important to me? How does this affect me? Maybe you don't have to tell anybody about it. Maybe it's between you and God. It doesn't always have to be aired out. I mean, Allison has processed a ton in the past year, but you haven't processed with every person on the planet. You have your people that you process with. You have your times that you do it, your counselor, that sort of thing. But you're not at the grocery store telling them, how was your day? Well, you want to know how my day is going? Let me tell you. I mean, maybe you did. And, well, right? More power to you. But
No.
But, I mean, it's just like, figure out who it is that you feel safe to process with.
That's right. So maybe as we're going through this, the beginning of 2023 and our letting go of some things,
Release me 2023,
absolutely.
baby.
Let go of the world's definition of strength and courage and pick up Jesus's and embrace all the feels.
All the feels.
All the feels. Oh, that's such a slang thing right now. It's trending.
I can just tell that you have a daughter in college. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, exactly. And then and a son in high school, bruh. Well, ladies and bros.
Bruh.
Thanks for joining us this week on The Sinner and the Saint.